This is Kathryn Goetzke, host of the Hope Matrix podcast. We are here to share science, stories, and strategies for how to hope. I'm the Chief Hope Officer of the Shine Hope Company, and Shine is the mnemonic for how we teach hope. So when we talk about hope, we talk about how we use stress skills, happiness habits, inspired actions, nourishing networks, and eliminating challenges, which are our thinking patterns that get in the way of our ability to hope. Hope is a skill. You can measure hope, you can teach hope, and you can start practicing skills to activate higher hope in your life today. And on this Hope Matrix podcast, we aim to bring in guests, experts in science, people with stories, and those that have strategies for activating hope in your life.
Hello, everyone. This is Kathryn Goetzke, host of the Hope Matrix podcast. Thrilled to be with you all today and to talk about a very important subject. And that is how we shine hope in times of really massive crisis. And I have a guest here with me today who's an expert on that and is working with youth in Israel. He is teaching them to shine hope in times of war, really. And you know, if ever there is a time to practice the skills for hope, it's during times of massive crisis, yet it can almost seem impossible. And so we're really, really very grateful to have Elad Talmor with us today to talk about his work in Israel, what he's doing with the teenagers, how he's working with them to write their Shine Hope stories, and to share more of his wisdom and insights with us. So welcome to the show today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Kathryn, thank you for having me.
Yes, it's been a while. You've been on the show before, so I'm excited to reconnect with you. It's been, I'm not sure, maybe 6 months or something since we last talked. A lot has happened, and you know, I would love to get an update. What is the climate with you all in your country? How are things going?
Right. So, well, the climate has changed. The war is not over yet, but it seems that it's getting better. I mean, there's less fighting. Okay, so people in most parts of the country can go back to their daily life, concentrate on their daily lives. However, now when we feel that there's less fighting, we see that more people are suffering from depression, from anxiety, from PTSD. All right, because many people, they had to survive for a long period of time, for a few months. And now when there's less fighting, we see that people are more suffering. So these are still challenging times. These are still trying times in Israel. And we are doing our best.
Yeah, I mean, and that's quite normal. It's not just during the time of crisis. I mean, when we're in crisis, we almost, our adrenaline, all of those stress hormones are keeping us active, and then when it's over, it's like that's all gone, and so it's dealing with the aftermath of it. So that's quite normal when we go through times of great stress and everything that's happening. And like you say, the war itself is not over, and so you're still dealing with a lot of that, and working with youth. And I mean, how do you approach it with them on learning skills for hope when they see so much trauma and chaos around them?
But so I think that they have one advantage as adolescents, as teenagers, that we don't have as adults. Okay, they are more focused on their daily lives.
That's good. Yeah.
They are less. I mean, generally speaking, they are less interested in what's going on in the country, in the public opinion and so forth. So their lives is so intensive.
Yeah.
They have to cope with growing up and with so many challenges like any other adolescents everywhere cope with. And still many of them, they have friends that lost someone or a family member um, who is dead. Okay, so of course, it has an impact on most of them, but they're getting more and more focused on their daily lives, like teenagers everywhere.
That is so important. And that is one of the biggest challenges that's in the E of the Shine framework to hope is, we try to control things outside of our control. We get outside of the present moment. We ruminate, we worry, all of these things. And yet, exactly as you say, if we can just get back into the present moment, into our daily lives, focus on engaging with what's in front of us, with what's to do, with our schoolwork, and stop worrying so much about all of these external things that we have very little control over. The more we spend our time on those things that we can't control, the more we stay in a persistent state of hopelessness. Because when you break down hopelessness being both that emotional despair and the motivational helplessness, of course you're going to stay in hopelessness. You're going to feel bad and you're powerless to do anything about it. So you are in that persistent hopelessness. You develop clinical anxiety and depression. So really learning how to get yourself back into the present moment again and again and again, especially when there are so many things external in your environment that are happening that are negative. We are seeing that with the election in our country. Half of the people are pretty upset with the outcome of the election and are spent, they're doing a lot of that ruminating. They're doing a lot of the worrying about the future. And you're going to develop a clinical disorder, a mental health disorder, if you continue to do that. So I think it's a really important message for all of us. And I always say I learned so much from teens, and I always have everywhere I've worked with them, that they are doing their best to stay engaged in their day-to-day, in the school, in, what they're working on in that moment. I mean, I think that's a huge lesson that we all can take from these teens.
Yeah, I agree with you. Kathryn, this is an important lesson that we can learn from teenagers. And this is an important lesson I learned from my son. He's 14 and a half. So he's a great teacher about how does it feel to be a teenager these days.
Yes.
Trying times. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly how we say, I mean, to be engaged in your tasks,
Right.
and to contribute to others. And so it's a great distraction, and you don't get to ruminate and to in order not to develop clinical disorder.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have been working with the kids on their Shine Hope stories, and you're here today to share some of the teen Shine Hope stories. Am I right on that? Ye-
Exactly.
Yeah, amazing.
Love to share with you.
Yes, please. We are so excited to hear what teens in Israel are doing for their own, how to create their own Shine Hope story. And our aim is to ensure everyone around the world knows how to write their Shine Hope story. We all have challenges. We all, and the challenges of your teens are way more significant than many of us can imagine. And so being able to learn from them, we're so grateful.
Cool. So let me just say that I work in 4 high schools, all right? And I'd like to share a few stories or true stories of teenagers I meet at work.
Amazing.
Psychotherapists in these high schools. And I'd like to begin with the first teenager. His name is Ben.
Ben.
Ben is 18 years old, is a secular teenager. His family is they are secular. And Ben copes with depression for a few years now. And some classmates of him, they call him weirdo because he's an A student. He loves to study, but he's not so good in socializing. All right, so his social skills are quite low, I would say. And but the interesting thing is that he doesn't suffer from bullying, despite the fact that he doesn't like to socialize. Um, his classmates are not mean to him.
Well, what about weird? Isn't weirdo kind of mean?
So sorry.
Sorry, isn't them saying weirdo to him kind of mean? I mean,
Yes, it is, but they don't. They don't bully him further on.
okay, yeah,
So they nickname him weird,
right,
but they leave him alone. All right.
got it, yeah,
That.
yeah.
And
And you can tell Ben another word for that is genius or brilliant. you know, so
exactly. The first thing we did with him, we did with Ben. When I say we, is the educational consultant and myself. We help him to create a vision for himself.
amazing.
You're very smart.
Yes, right.
You're incredibly intelligent. What would you like to do?
Yeah,
You're older. And
yeah.
you know what he replied?
What?
Answer: I'd like to be a professor in history, and I'd like to teach others about the history of our people, of the Israeli people. So the interesting thing is that he now he has a sense of purpose.
Yes.
It's, I'd like to develop myself as to become a professor in order to teach others about what's going on and how about the history of our people. And this is a source of strength for him.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
because we know, Kathryn, that one of the keys of Shine Hope is to find sense of purpose, to activate your purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah. And your strengths.
Yes, and for him, it's so meaningful. It gives him a lot of strength and hope that he can, because he's struggling.
Yeah, right.
So he takes his medicines, and of course he visits his psychiatrist once a month, and he meets his psychotherapist once a week. He gets his sessions on a weekly basis, and still this is it's so important for him, and we encourage him to know what he wants to fulfill, wants to become when he gets older.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So what we did with him is because he gets his therapy outside of school. We didn't want to intervene with his therapy outside of school. Our intervention was to talk with his classmates when he's gone. I mean, when one day that he was absent, and to help them to encourage them to be more compassionate.
Yeah, I mean, his classmates should really be part of his nourishing network, and it's unfortunate that they're not and they're working against him. Yet compassion is a skill, and we know all of the benefits of being compassionate for, the person receiving the compassion and the compassionate giver, if you will. And so it's wonderful. I mean, we must teach kids skills around compassion. It's not necessarily something we automatically have, or maybe we learn how not to from modeling from other people and from adults, and yet it's a really important skill to have. So that's wonderful that you're bringing that to the students and teaching them about compassion and the importance of compassion. And then them also experiencing how it feels. It releases dopamine in our body when we're compassionate. Anger and teasing releases stress hormones. And so let's learn healthier ways of getting our positive, happy hormones.
Exactly. And Kathryn, one thing we noticed is that some teenagers, they have a misconception. They think that if I'm strong, if I'm a strong teenager, I'm a strong person, so I'm not compassionate.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to be tough. I need to
Right.
hold on, and I can tease others. But we had a discussion with them that you can be a tough person,
Yes, and strong and
have a resilience, and at the same time, you can be compassionate.
yes, it's not a weakness. Yes, exactly.
There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong.
Right, right. And you're actually healthier. You're healthier as a human.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
And yes, so and what I did with Pen, moreover, is I inspired actions, okay, from Shine Hope. So I had a conversation with him to take one day, step by step, just to be focused on your today, on today.
Yes. Mm.
Break it down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have a vision for yourself, and that's great for to become a professor in the future. But so let's make a plan. Let's break it down and focus on today, in order not to get lost, and not to suffer and to ruminate, because he's suffering. He's suffering. He's coping with depression. So
Yeah.
and one thing we did together is to practice mindfulness and express gratitude. So he expressed his gratitude to his parents, who are very supportive, and they make a huge effort to help them out. And he also expressed his gratitude for the staff at school, for teachers who were concerned about him. And we these days we are practicing mindfulness meditation and deep breathing, belly breathing. Uh, and, um, and I encourage him to practice at home as well, in the afternoons, in the evenings, after school hours.
How is he getting his happy hormones? Does he exercise at all?
Enough. Well, this is something we because he's obese, okay, it's very hard for him to exercise. Well, he knows how important it is to exercise on a regular basis in order to feel better.
Yeah.
He knows.
Yeah.
It's struggles. This is really a struggle for him. So
Yeah.
he tries to just to walk, for a few minutes in the afternoons.
Yeah.
And this is a good start for him.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I mean, you have to break it down, because if you look at the end goal and it's too big, you get overwhelmed and you do nothing. So it's like, let's break it down into little incremental goals let's do a block a day and try to do that, every day. And then, okay, let's add another block the next week, so you're incrementally adding to the goals, and then it doesn't feel so overwhelming. That's the thing with depression. It's you're, the dopamine, the serotonin, they're so low. And so figuring out the happiness habits, how can we get more of them in our body? Our laughter, we know exercise is so helpful. What our nutrition, what are we eating? How is that making us feel? And then again, working on the stress skills so that stress response, eating is often a stress response. We do that to soothe our stress, when we're in our stress zone. And so how can we start intervening when we go to food or ahead of like going to food with an activity or a habit that helps kind of break that cycle? So, and so it sounds like you're doing a lot of that. It's so great. And, and again, the goal isn't to fix it all at once. It's to take incremental steps towards what we want.
Exactly. Exactly. And another homework we gave him is to find an online community of teenagers like him that love to study and that they love history. And
Right.
but one good thing that he's just mentioned in our last meeting was that one of the teenagers he was checking with online is also coping with depression, and they gave one another tips,
Yeah.
how to cope better.
Yep.
And it's amazing. I mean, now he has one more friend, online friend, and maybe the relationship will develop and they can become real friends. Even
Yes, in real life. Yeah. Thorough. Yes. Yeah. I just want to commend Ben for taking responsibility and getting help, getting support, seeking support, owning where he's at and being brave enough to see a psychiatrist, to see a therapist, to be working on himself. To me, how courageous is that of him? And for him to be willing to share some of his insights of his journey to help support others, that too is super courageous. It's clear to me Ben feels so deeply, and that is a superpower. When he can learn how to feel deeply but not harm himself by if it's overeating or whatever it is that's inhibiting him in any way, and he can learn to take those feelings and use them more for action and for change in society. I feel that those with depression are really those that just feel so deeply, and it's hard to feel those feelings, whatever they are in relation to, so, how powerful and courageous Ben is. Commend him for all of it.
exactly. He's really brave. He's really brave because arriving to school, going to school day in day out, and coping with all this pain is so hard. It's so who is doing it.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing.
Yes. Well, we really hope things will get better for him.
Yes, absolutely. Always changing, Ben. Everything's always changing. So, there's keep on keeping on. Yes.
Is there another story?
Yes, absolutely. Please do.
All right. All right. So, oh yes, I'd like to tell you about Ari. Ari is 16 years old. He's an ultra-Orthodox teenager, from Chabad. Chabad, they are it's a branch of ultra-Orthodox of Judaism all over the world, and also in Israel. And Harry copes with bipolar disorder, manic depression. And so for him, the most important stress skill is to pray.
Yep. It's a good one.
It's a great one
I know.
because he feels deeply the connection between himself and God.
Um,
And he's expressing his gratitude for God for giving him life, all right, and for also for giving him challenges in his life. And it's a struggle for him, of course, like any other teenager that copes with bipolar disorder. But he can find also the advantages in it. It's amazing. Also,
yeah, and that's how wise of him to be able to give gratitude for the struggles. I mean, that's pretty amazing of him. But such a young age to really understand there is value in our struggles. They teach us so much about ourselves and what we care about, and they make us stronger, as we work to navigate our way through them. And they so, and also to pray, prayer as an intervention. I think imagine if every time people were triggered, they prayed instead of reacted, you know, uh, just how kind of much of a different world we would live in if we were able to accomplish that. Someone says something to me, instead of reacting aggressively or escalating the argument or the conversation, whatever it is, I just got myself quiet and prayed for, compassion for the other person, for love for the other person, for forgiveness, for love for myself. Instead of doing that, I mean, that to me is such a brilliant intervention as well. And that I've talked to many clergy about as, the most important. I mean, I think stress skills for hope are, the first key for a reason. If we're not learning how to manage our stress response in healthier ways and, the impulsivity, the reactivity, all of that. And to me, prayers, and with up to 90% of the world adhering to some type of religion, I would think all religious leaders would promote that as a very important strategy, as it's physiological. We have a physiological thing that's happening in our body. We need to understand that, and we need to just learn to intervene to slow that 90-second response down.
it's incredible, and Ari is really compassionate. Yeah, because he knows, because he's suffering, and there are times of suffering for him. He is compassionate about for others who are suffering in their lives.
Yeah.
He's an inspiration, this teenager, because he's, as you said, Kathryn, he's so deeply connected with God, and he can express his gratitude also for his challenges.
Oh,
So what we were talking, Ari and I, we were talking about happiness habits. Okay, so how can we reach out now to other teenagers who are suffering and help them, and support them, and help them to increase their level of hope. And for him, it was a new thinking about. So now I can for a few moments, okay, for a few hours, I can get outside of my life and reach out to others. Like, and I'm not no longer focused on my struggles. All right. So
Yes. Yeah.
he's a true believer. Okay, so he's ultra orthodox,
It's amazing.
and for him, it's a value in his life to reach out and help others, because it's an important principle in Judaism.
Yep.
To be focused only on myself,
Well, yeah.
but to connect with others.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, there's so much research backing up the benefits of volunteering, supporting others. I really believe that we learn so much about hope too by teaching others how to hope and to get ideas from them. So teaching others how to write their Shine Hope stories. That's why I love doing this podcast as well. I learned so much about how different people are activating hope in their own lives, which is so important. So how wonderful that he, again, at such a young age, is being proactive about doing that. We know that releases happy hormones. And so it's a great strategy for how to navigate challenges. This is on the very hard days when you know that you're also supporting others and helping others. That can be an anchor to really help us get through.
Exactly. And what we were discussing, we had a long conversation about feelings and emotions, Ari and I, because there are times when he feels that he can do anything he wants in the world. When
Yes.
Anya
Yeah, the manic part of us.
depressed,
Nothing.
actually would come out of in my life, and I will never succeed. So we were trying to learn not to rely too much on
Yes.
emotional feelings.
Yes. I know. Right. Yes.
So
So important.
yes, of course, he gets psychotherapy at his community outside of school, and he sees a psychiatrist on a regular basis. And the thing that his emotions and feelings are so how would I say it, are so strong.
Yes, so intense. Sorry, I hear you. Yes, I hear you. All right, yeah. I know. It's
He gets confused.
yeah, of course. They are, yeah.
And we were having discussions about what is the role of emotions and feelings, and
I know.
I recommended him to watch the movie Inside Out,
Yeah.
and just to keep in the back of your mind that it's not a good plan just to rely on your emotions. Really, it's something like
Yeah, and they come and go. And I always tell youth, and we have them do this as part of the programming, the deeper programming. What are they telling you? Like, what are your emotions what's your anger saying? If your anger had a voice, what would it be telling you? If your sadness had a voice, what would it tell you? If your fear had a voice, what would it tell you? And really get to what is it even trying to say? And is it helpful information? Is it unhelpful information? I mean, they're often a sign of what we care about, what we're passionate about. So if we're really sad about something, it often also gives us a clue of what we care about. And that could be a clue into our purpose. Same with anger. It could tell us what we care about. And if we dig deeper into it, it can tell us about what our purpose is. And so learning healthy ways to understand our emotions, especially the kind of negatively charged emotions, and really just giving them space to breathe instead of suppressing them or running away from them. I mean, that's when we run to things like eating or self-harm, or we don't want to feel the emotions, but actually emotions can be super helpful. They can be signals of something, or they can just really be a distraction. Trying to, fear can be like a rumination or a fear about the future of something that's not going to happen. So we work to get back into the present moment. Yet sometimes, again, they can be super helpful. So it's just learning to be curious about them, not to fear, because I feel so intensely as well. And I used to think, gosh, if I were to dive into my emotions, they would just engulf me. But what I learned actually is no, it was my running from my emotions that was harming me, because I was turning to all of these things to manage them in unhealthy ways. Yet if I really dove deep into them and felt them and heard them, they would pass through me. They wouldn't stay in me forever. I would express them and they would really move on. And so it was a super important thing for me to learn how to identify and manage my own emotions. Super important.
Exactly. And, to accept them
Yeah, absolutely.
as they are.
Yes.
Try to avoid and not to try to run away from the hard and from the inconvenient emotions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yes, Ari is he's doing better.
That's wonderful.
He's
Yeah.
learning skills.
Yep. Yeah, that's amazing. So happy to hear that, Ari. And yes, using that emotional charge, learning how to, feel those intense emotions and then use them to help teach others about emotions. And to me, about hope has been so important, and how to navigate them. I use that as fuel to do the work that I do when I get so, if I'm so sad about something or so angry about something, especially if it's something that I don't even have much control about, or something that's going on in the world. I use that fuel to do what I can in the space that I'm able to have impact. And that is my work on hope. And so I do a lot to identify and manage those emotions, and then use that energy for good and for change.
Right, right. This is incredible what you're doing, and for him, for Ari, his great rabbi, okay, the greatest leader of as an ultra Orthodox Jew is Rabbi Miller, and I mean he's learning from his rabbi um, how to cope in trying times. I mean, what I asked him is um, to learn how did his rabbi coped when he had difficulties in his life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so important.
Role model.
Yeah, totally. And you should get his Rabbi Shine Hope story. I would love to read it. Yes, Ari, if you do that. That's amazing. Keep up the good work.
All right.
Amazing.
And I'd like to share with you the story of Charlie. It's
Okay.
Charlie. So Charlie, he's 17. He's secular teenager. He copes with ADHD. And the thing, his parents got divorced a few years ago, and it went ugly. I mean, they were fighting each other, and he got stuck in the middle of a huge fight between his parents. And it feels blame and it feels shame, because sometimes he thinks, if I wasn't born, my parents would not fight the way they did. And Charlie is struggling. He's struggling. He was labeled as troublemaker at school, because he has no patience to sit down and learn, and to listen to his teachers. So, and sometimes he's impulsive. He has something to say and he cannot hold on. It has not. So he says what he like. The first thing on his class, and some teachers don't like it.
Yeah.
To say the least, they don't.
Yes. All right. Yeah. Oh, this is such a challenge with youth these days. So many are struggling with ADHD. And, the phone trains our brain to addiction. So it's very, very challenging. And it takes a lot of work. I mean, I was diagnosed with ADHD, but not until my late 30s, maybe. And really having to learn how to navigate it. The impulsivity is a huge thing. It's so big with kids. And the challenge is so many teachers and parents think it's just acting out, but it's really a challenge with our executive functioning and how our brain works. And until we can learn how to manage and rewire our brain and do the exercises necessary, meditation, this learning the stress response, learning how to, that pause, that critical pause, that's so important to learn, especially when we're very impulsive.
Right.
It takes time and practice. And again, it's part of how our brain functions. So it's not like we're making this decision to be disruptive or disrespectful or a problem, and that's such the perception. And then when people have that perception and you don't have the executive functioning and that control, the behavior reinforces that perception, and then the parents or teachers reflect, you're a bad kid, you're lazy, you're smarting off, you're all of these things, and then you start believing that, and you have all these limiting beliefs, and that's really, a challenge for mental health. And so it's just this massive cycle, and one I think we need to bring major compassion to and understanding around, especially for our children as they're navigating things that we never had to navigate, So the phones, the social media, kind of all of that, and how it built their brains differently. Our attention span as a human species has gone down to less than a goldfish. So, it's, I think, under 8 seconds now. It's just, we don't have it's a different generation. And so learning how to be more compassionate about this and how to understand it from a biological standpoint and not put so much blame, and to leave room for grace, I think, with our use, super important.
So, like you say, Kathryn, we have an essential role as adults, as members of staff at school, in order to help him out, in order not to, because as you said, Charlie and many other teenagers with ADHD, they internalize these beliefs,
I
these
know.
sections that I'm no good. If
Horrible.
if I wanted to succeed, I would make more effort, but but I guess I didn't make all the effort. And you know that they internalize these misconceptions, and it's so unhealthy.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
what we did, once again, the educational consultant and I, we had conversation. We had discussions with his, first of all, with his educator, how to ease on him, to make it easier for him, to let him, in the middle of the class, of the session, of the lesson, to get out and have a break, a short break. And because he was labeled, the trouble is that he was labeled as that is and teachers don't like it, and they lost belief on him that he can do well. And
That right there is a super important point too, because a teacher or a therapist's hope for their patient is oftentimes more predictive of outcomes than the patient or student's hope. And so when you are a teacher, a leader, a mentor, it is so important to never give up hope on whomever it is you're working with. And if you do give up hope, to find someone else to replace you in the role you're in. And to never show that to whomever you're working with, because Sometimes the teacher is the only person this child has in their life that has any kind of care or concern for them. I mean, what we find in the US is up to 50% of the kids don't have a trusted adult in their life, or someone that, they can count on or rely on. And so it's incredibly important that we never give up on these youth, and we understand that they are coming from their brain has been developed in different ways. They grew up in a different generation. They are not the same as the generation we were in. They have much different challenges, and we don't know what's happening with them at home. We don't know, there are so many compounding things that can come into play. And so I would just, again, stress that for the educators, for that it's very important um, to maintain a sense of hope for our youth.
Right, right. And what we are discussing, Charlie, he wants to become a soccer player. And soccer is big deal in his
Yeah.
most popular sport.
Okay.
Nancy. And and he's practicing, and he's making an effort to become a professional soccer player.
Uh-huh.
What I suggested him is that let's find a sense of purpose in being a professional soccer player. For example, you can inspire other teenagers who are struggling in their lives. If all those icons
Yeah.
teenagers adore.
Yeah.
That's all those stars, the really the best soccer stars. So you don't have to be a star. I mean, it's okay. I wish you become a professional soccer player and you become a star. But you don't. You can inspire others on every level.
For sure. Yeah. And that too is so important, that we can set these goals. We can think, I can try to be a professional soccer player. It's the attaching to that outcome of that goal. It's the attaching to, I must achieve this. Or, when we attach too much to our outcomes, that can lead to hopelessness. And so putting it out there, doing what we can to get there, but knowing that our happiness and joy comes from the process. It's not for the attainment of this thing. It's from the process, how we connect with other people along the way, as you say, how we inspire others, how we work every day on our practice of soccer, our habits, our, showing up to practice on time, getting the physical activity, kind of all of those things.
Right. How we grow as human beings.
Yes.
Our way in the way of getting there. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So mm, just appreciate the way.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
best
Yeah. Absolutely.
for Charlie. He knows how tough it is to be a son of parents that they don't get along with each other. And
Yeah.
you would like to help others, teenagers who got lost in the when because he knows how he's suffering.
Yeah, of course.
His parents, they don't interact with, they don't talk to one another. So painful for him.
Yeah. Well, we send Charlie so much love. And of course, it's easy to say that it's not your fault, Charlie, and you have nothing to do with it. It's hard as a child to know that deep, and unfortunately, we can't control other people. That's one of the hardest things. And adults project a lot of their pain and unhealed trauma onto their children. It's just kind of, unfortunately, how it goes until they work on their own healing of their own pain and their own challenges, and again, when, I I always wanted my parents getting along. And so that was so hard for me as a young kid of seeing any kind of discourse. And I felt so much pain around it. And yet you can't control other people. And that's a hard thing to come to terms with. You want to be able to fix everything and control it so like figuring out for Charlie where his locus of control is in his life, which it sounds like he's doing, like him learning that he can help and support other people in the emotional journey, of having parents that are divorcing or fighting, and working on his stress skills and his happiness habits and his own his affirming beliefs, which are so important for Charlie if his teachers are giving him trouble because of his ADHD. I mean, when Charlie learns that his ADHD is going to be his biggest asset, like once he just learns how to navigate it, I mean, when I learned how to manage my focus, when I learned how to stop being so impulsive and how to stop that stress response so that I wasn't so reactive and learn how to channel my energy into focus, I could get so much more done than other people could in such a short amount of time because I have this ability to hyper focus. But it's learning how to do that, and it takes time, and it takes love for self and compassion for self in the process. And I'm sorry that other people in his life are making it so challenging for him, and yet it sounds like he's taking ownership for himself of what he wants and what he can control and how he's going to navigate it. And soccer is a great way to manage some of the pain of all of it. Soccer is a great happiness habit. You release so many endorphins, so much serotonin from that really intense physical exercise, which is so great for him. And he's so lucky to have you helping to guide him along the way.
Well, yeah, we are really making an effort, the staff at schools, um, to just to support these teenagers, to help them out, uh, to to um, to give them the feelings that they are not alone.
Yeah.
They are not alone. That there's someone that will care for them.
Yeah.
We really do.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Incredible. Well, much love to you, Charlie.
I would send him.
Yeah, thank you. All of them. Yeah, I'm really grateful they were so courageous to share too what they're working on and the challenges. I mean, this is our biggest challenge right now. Our youth are struggling in such unprecedented ways. It's across the board. The parents are struggling figuring out how to navigate. Children are struggling, and so really sharing strategies and how we can in healthier ways deal with what's going on in life for so many. It's so important. So I'm so grateful to you for taking time to do this with us.
Right, right. It's, um, for me, it's meaningful, because I've been a teenager myself, and today I'm a father for a teenager, and life is hard.
Right? Absolutely. Absolutely. We all have our challenges. Yep.
And being a teenager these days, everywhere,
Yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah.
Tough. When we were a teenager, there were no social media. There were no smartphones. We could disconnect, just to have time to take time off to rest, to detach.
Yes.
Today, teenagers, it's more challenging for them.
Yes. That's why I think they are going to get this movement of hope going, and they teach us so much, you know? So it's so inspiring. I mean, I learned so much about hope from our youth. So I'm super grateful. And I'm so grateful to you and to all of the schools that are supporting this work, that are allowing you to do this work with them. So I'd love to hear more about who is involved on your end. And yeah, and helping us activate hope and learn about hope and practice the skills around hope and how to shine hope. I think it's brave and courageous of our school leaders to, make it a priority in schools when there are so many competing priorities right now. I believe hope is so key to all outcomes in schools, and yet not all of them make time for it. So I think it's really wonderful that you have leadership in where you're working, where they prioritize this.
Right, right. So I'd like Kathryn to express my gratitude for a few people, for a few partners, for friends of mine we work together at schools. And so I'd like to mention the school principals, Meir and Tebi, Yoram Ben Shitrit, Menachem Ben Mas, and Benjamin Vaknin. They are great educational leaders, all of them.
Love that. Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much, Prince. My mom was the principal. So, yeah, she was. So I know what a hard job our principals have. I mean, so many challenges and so many different ways. The parents, the teachers, the kids, staff, just all of it. And so, yeah. I know. So yeah, to them, thank you for making time for hope and for prioritizing hope. And I would like your principals shine hope stories too. I think that.
I'd like to express my gratitude to a few more people.
Yes, of course, of course.
So, my dear colleagues, the educational consultants, Sima, Meital, Yossi, Itamar, Rabbi Shiner, a dear friend of mine, and Moshe. I'd like to thank Yeshuv Am, a dear friend of mine. He's a teacher and an educator. That I learned so much from him about how to become a role model for his students, for his pupils. And I'd like to thank Revital Amir for her supervision. Avinoam, a dear friend of mine and a colleague that gives you the best tips and advice.
That's so important. Yes.
And I'd like to thank from the bottom of my heart to my mentors at work, to Ginat Shemer and Shai Chemgal, for all their support and good advice. And last person I'd like to thank is you, Kathryn. First of all, for your generous attitude. And you, you're so kind to spread the shine hope, this theory. And all the work, the professional work you did, has enriched my life as psychotherapist and as a human being. And I learned so much from Shine Hope and from and I use the method you developed in order to help teenagers in Israel to increase their level of hope. So thank you. Thanks a lot for all you did.
Oh, thank you. That means the world to me. That's so sweet. And it's, it wouldn't be possible without you and without all of the work you're doing. And we learn about hope in our work through the work you're doing with our kids, our children of the world. I think they're all our children. And so grateful to you for helping to activate this with them, helping us expand our knowledge, do better at the work that we're doing, our understanding of hope, so that we can continue to evolve our programs and ensure that our kids know how to hope. They know that challenges are going to be a part of life, and equip them with skills to navigate them in healthier ways. So really means the world to me, the work you're doing. And hope wouldn't be possible without you and without your whole team. And of course, my team. I mean, amazing. They're an amazing group of dedicated individuals that care so much about ensuring I'll know how to hope, and I'm really grateful.
So yes,
Yes.
it's so meaningful. So really, I appreciate a lot.
Oh,
Um, you're a great partner.
yeah. Thank you, as are you. Yeah, and as all our listeners are as well. So, hope wouldn't be possible without all of you listening and helping us spread the word around hope and sharing this work, sharing it with other people. We all go through challenges, and it's our ability to navigate those challenges, those moments of hopelessness, so they don't become persistent, that they don't become disorders. We get ahead of them, we focus on them upstream, and we support, and we're more compassionate and loving humans just in general. It's really very critical. So thank you all to listeners for listening in and helping us expand our work on hope. Really grateful. And Elad, so grateful for this conversation. It's really meaningful, and it keeps me going in the very hard and challenging days and challenging time. And I do look forward to coming and meeting with you all live at some point in the future. It'd be a really wonderful trip. Thank you.
Pleasure to meet once again and to conversation. Thank you, Kathryn.
Yes, thank you. So we'll be checking off. Remember, everyone, no matter what life brings, you have to keep shining. You have to keep shining hope. Take care and have an amazing day.
So thank you all for listening in to the Hope Matrix podcast. We want to shine a light that hope is teachable, hope is measurable and teachable, and provide you with actionable insights for how you can start activating hope in your life today, and provide a framework so you can start talking about hope with other people and practice these skills together, because we are better with hope. Please feel free to check out theshinehopecompany.com, where we list all of our resources around how to hope. We have a lot of free programs for how to hope, including the 5-day challenge, our hope infographic with a lot of skills that showcase how to hope, and articles of how to incorporate hope into your life. We have the Hope Beat Weekly, which is a weekly newsletter that shares strategies for hope. We have a My Hope Story template, so you can write your own hope story today. Also, My Hope Heroes, so we can share what our heroes are doing to activate hope in their lives. And this is especially good with youth, so they can start looking up to people that have overcome similar challenges to them and seeing how these heroes use the Shine Hope framework. We have a Hopeful Minds for Teens program, a Hopeful Minds overview, educator guides. We have a new evidence-based college course, so you can activate hope on the college campus. There are programs in the workplace, overview courses, 90-minute courses for learning the what, why, and how to hope. What I want you to know about hope is it's a skill. You've got to practice these skills to become hopeful. It's easy to fall into despair and helplessness when we deal with challenges in life, and it takes intentional work and practice to get to hope. And yet it is always possible. So no matter what life brings, keep shining hope. Thanks so much for listening in. Have an awesome day. And of course, I've got to add that this program is designed to assist you in learning about hope. It should not be used for medical advice, counseling, or other health-related services. I, Fred, the Shine Hope Company, and myself, Kathryn Goetzke, do not endorse or provide any medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. I am not a medical doctor. The information provided here should not be used for the diagnosis or treatment of any medical condition, and cannot be substituted for the advice of physicians, licensed professionals, or therapists who are familiar with your specific situation. Consult a licensed medical profession or call 911 if you are in need of immediate assistance. And be sure to know the crisis hotline, 988, if you are in need of support. Thanks a bunch for listening. Take good care of yourself and keep shining hope.